Welcome to Deep Dive, the podcast that goes beyond the surface, helping you live out your faith with deeper understanding and purpose. My name is John Coombs, and today we're going to talk about encouragement, especially when we're in those seasons of life where they feel a little tough. We'll be diving into Hebrews chapter 3, verses 7 to 19, and there we find a powerful warning about hardening our hearts and the vital role that encouragement can play in our faith. So as we explore the example of the Israelites in the wilderness, and there's a warning from Psalm 95 that the writer of Hebrews gives us, we can see that we want to apply these teachings and these lessons and these warnings to us in our daily walk with Jesus. At the end, I give 5 practical ways, very quick ways, in which you might encourage someone else. We talked about encouragement a little bit in our previous episode, but there's some more to come today so that we don't fall in to the trap of hardening our hearts. Now, the Israelites, under the leadership of Moses, they were on their way to the Promised Land. They'd been called out of Egypt, and they reached the edge of the Promised Land at Kadesh. And you can read about that in Numbers 13 and 14. And there, fear and disbelief took hold of them. There were giants in the land that seemed too big. The cities seemed too fortified. They doubted God's promise to deliver them. And so this lack of faith and lack of trust in God in this moment led to 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. A generation never saw the Promised Land because they hardened their hearts and didn't trust God to carry them through. In Hebrews chapter 3, verses 7 to 19, the writer reflects on this incident by quoting Psalm 95, which is a passage that recalls that very event. He warns us, today, if you hear his voice, that is God's voice, do not harden your hearts as you did in the rebellion. Now, the heart of this warning is simple. Don't make the same mistake. Don't let disbelief or discouragement cause you to drift away from God's promises. The Israelites' story becomes really a cautionary tale for us. So first, it's helpful to understand what it means by hardening your heart. So this is when we become unresponsive to God, whether through doubt or through sin or simply neglect. I don't think it's something that happens overnight, nor do I think the writer of Hebrews thinks that. I think, it's a gradual process. Think about it in the way in which soil hardens during a dry season, during summer. When there's no rain, the ground becomes tough. It's unable to absorb that water that it requires for more nutrients and growth. I almost think of my front yard there, to be honest. Over summer. But in the same way, our hearts can become spiritually dry and resistant to God when we allow distrust or hurt or fear or disobedience to build up and build up. And so the warning is pretty clear. Stay open to God's voice. Don't let your heart dry out. Don't harden your heart like the Israelites do there in Numbers 13 and 14. They who doubted God's ability to lead them into the Promised Land. But there is an antidote to this hardness, and the author of Hebrews offers us a remedy to this danger of a hardened heart, and that remedy is encouragement. He says in verse 13, he tells us at least, but encourage one another daily, as long as it is called today, so that none of you may be hardened by sin's deceitfulness. So encouragement becomes that refreshing rain that softens the soil of our hearts. It keeps us responsive to God. And so just like plants need consistent water to thrive, we need encouragement to remain open and receptive to God's leading, to following him. It's a regular practice, not an occasional need, this encouragement. Encouragement acts like that sunlight in our faith walk with Jesus, in our spiritual lives. It strengthens us, it keeps us active and vibrant and healthy, and it helps us grow in our faith. The question is, I suppose, how can we be this sunshine and rain to others, how can we encourage one another in a way that keeps our hearts and the hearts of those around us soft and responsive to God, particularly during times that are tough and challenging, where the overwhelm is there and it's just a bit too much, where God seems perhaps distant, or where we recognise that we have failed and that we are broken and that we're questioning whether God is accepting us. In any situation we may find ourselves, in any temptation or trial, encouragement, according to Hebrews here in chapter 3, is the antidote, is the remedy to us drifting off course, to hardening our hearts. Now, I've got 5 practical things we could do. These are very quick. They're not meant to be long. They're things you could do right now. They're things that you could do or keep in mind over the coming days. But let's just quickly go through them. 5 practical things we could do to encourage someone else. First, we could send a very quick, 10-second kind of text. Take a moment right now to send a quick message of encouragement to someone in your phone on your contact list. Doesn't have to be long. Simple, I'm thinking of you, praying for you today. That can no doubt make a huge difference to someone who might be feeling alone or feeling like it's going to be a tough day. I mentioned last episode of a daily reset, waking up in bed, not reaching for our phone, but taking the first minute of our day to say, hey, today I'm fixing my eyes on you, Jesus, and that sets the tone for the rest of the day. Perhaps we can do a similar thing not only for ourselves so that we can trust in God's promises rather than letting our heart grow hard, but also perhaps we could suggest that to someone else as well today. Thirdly, perhaps on a Sunday morning before you head to church this coming Sunday, think of someone that you don't usually talk to and then go and make a point to speak a word of encouragement to them. Or even if it is someone that you regularly speak to, go and speak a word of encouragement to them, whether it's a compliment, a prayer, or just something friendly to say. Fourth, take a moment to pause and pray for someone. You may even mention that to them in a text following, and you'll be ticking off 2 of the 5 things that I'm mentioning right now. But set a reminder on your phone, perhaps, at a specific time each day to stop, pray for someone who might be having a few challenges that you know of, and let them know that you're praying for them. It might just be the encouragement they need to keep on going. And then finally, perhaps you could take the time, perhaps one evening, to write a couple of thank you notes to someone, or a note of gratitude to someone, or thankfulness, and maybe post it off to them. Maybe do it over in an evening. Take the church directory, take a couple of things, look at a couple of people in there, and encourage them with a little note. These are always powerful. Encouragement is powerful, isn't it? I know it is for me. I imagine it is for you. It keeps our hearts soft, keeps our faith strong, and it also connects us more with others. So I encourage you to take one of those things, or maybe take all of them, and apply them and encourage someone else. If you're finding this podcast helpful, I'd love for you to subscribe or leave a review or a comment or share it with others who you think might benefit. If you have any questions, do send them my way. I'd be glad to connect with you. But otherwise, thanks for diving deep this week. And may I encourage you to encourage others so that we can all be encouraged. Talk to you next time.